I will admit I went to my ChatGPT.
Cheater.
That is the flaw with our system.
Hold your arguments. Don't give it to him.
I'm ruining the podcast here. I understand that.
I surrender.
Welcome to hell. Devil's Advocate pits lawyer against lawyer in a battle royale to answer the age-old question, who's better at arguing? The rules of the game are, we spin the Wheel of Misfortune to decide on a topic. Once a topic has been selected, the advocates must answer a set of polarizing questions. When they disagree, the game begins. Each advocate must argue their side, but here's the devilish twist. They must argue for the side they did not select. Let the depravity commence.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Devil's Advocate. Today we have with us two folks from the same firm, which I think is the first time we're doing that. We've got Stuart Rudner and Geoff Lowe from Rudner Law. Geoff is apparently the resident boxing / jiu-jitsu expert, so we're going to see if he can pull his punches. No, the opposite. Not pull his punches on today's Devil's Advocate. Hey guys, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us, and I'm hoping Geoff will pull the punches.
Yeah, I'm just going to stress that my expertise is very limited, and it's expert by default, so if anybody calls me out in the comments, I do not want to roll.
Under-promising immediately.
Okay,
that is the strategy.
There we go.
Okay, let's get this started. My first question here, we're in the marketing tab. We might stay in this for today. We're going to see. First question, should companies be allowed to use personal data to tailor ads, or does this cross ethical boundaries?
I'll say as long as it's public, they can use it.
Yeah, that was my statement. Yeah, if it's all the source of the data. So if they're getting the data surreptitiously and they're not telling you that they're harvesting from you, then I have a problem with it. But if they're telling you one of the criteria for using their platform is that they're going to yank your data, then sure, I'm good with it.
Okay.
What did the terms and conditions for the last update say? I don't know. I didn't read them.
Let's move on to the next. No disagreement. Is influencer marketing more manipulative than traditional advertising, or simply a modern evolution of word of mouth?
I'd say it's just the more modern version of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think it is a bit more manipulative because sometimes, and what I know about influencer marketing could probably be written on the inside of a matchbook. I just know what other people have told me. Everything I've learned about influencer marketing has been against my will.
Hold your arguments. Don't give it to him.
Wait. Sorry.
You're giving your enemy ammunition right now.
So yeah,
Or,
well, he's
disagree.
my boss. He's not quite my enemy, but yes.
Enemy for this next 20 minutes.
There we go.
Exactly. Let's pan to the waist.
I surrender.
All right, guys. So, game is triggered. Stuart, you believe that influencer marketing is a modern evolution of word of mouth. So, you are now taking the opposite. You think it's manipulative. And Geoff, you believe that is manipulative, so you have to say it's modern evolution of word of mouth.
I guess there is a strong argument to be made that it is an evolution of word of mouth because it's people that you trust and you watch online. The blurring of the lines between online life and like reality and real life, it's arguable that a lot of people do consider influencers to be like, if not peers, then somewhat acquaintances and friends because they're up to date on everything in their lives. There isn't that same back and forth like with an actual friend relationship, but I mean, I've had friends I don't get anything from either, but that's just how it is. And so when an influencer suggests or tells you to do something, it feels like it's just a buddy telling you what to do. So yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for that.
Yeah, the flip side of that, though, is I think it is definitely more manipulative because it's much more targeted, right? Traditional advertising was just posted on TV, radio, billboards, whatever, and it was directed at everyone. Influencers, as I understand it, and as I understand the algorithms, they're targeted to specific people. So you're going to know that certain people are susceptible to the message. They're going to get bombarded with that message. It becomes a bit of an echo chamber, and it's going to manipulate them a lot more than the traditional generic advertising. So I would say it's far more manipulative than traditional marketing.
I kind of agree with that position, so it's kind of a difficult. I'm ruining the podcast here. I understand that.
Oh man, you're just ruining it.
I also agree with it. That was tough. Yeah. I hate influencers.
Yeah, and my concern, I mean, the reason I had the position in the first place is because, like, they're not letting you know that they're advertising to you. I just keep thinking of that South Park with, like, with Cred, the energy drink, and, like, the guy's, like, constantly just driving Cred. I got Cred, you know, and they're not telling you that they're sponsored by Cred, and that's the entire purpose of this.
And now Cred has a new flavor, cherry bubblegum.
So if you guys could go back to your original stance, Stuart, why do you believe it's not manipulative?
I don't know that it's manipulative because it's just messaging. And whether it's messaging that's created by some fancy marketing firm or messaging created by some 13-year-old who's got a YouTube channel, it's the same thing. It's just messaging that you can take or leave, and it's going to influence the same people who are easily influenced by mass marketing are going to be influenced by influencers. So I'm not sure it's any more manipulative in that sense. So that's why I initially took that position.
So you believe it might be manipulative. It's just no more manipulative than what's traditionally been going on.
The other counter argument to that, Bobby, is that you can have celebrities on traditional media that are endorsing a product. Think of like Jordans or something along those lines. How is that any different than an influencer? So the lines are somewhat...
I think one, I don't remember which of you made the point, but the aspect of it being hyper-targeted, I think is an interesting line. Although then you could start talking about OT, like programmatic. That's hyper-targeted, and it also is the same concept. So I don't know. Yeah, there's something to it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Andrew. It kind of picks. I appreciate you picking up on my train of thought, which ended. But it's a great thought and a great point. But yeah, I think it's a modern version, but yeah, the targeting and the echo chamber is the difference.
Perfect. Okay, let's go to the next one. Next question. Do brands have a responsibility to take public positions on social issues, or should they stay neutral to avoid performative activism?
I don't think they have a responsibility to. I think some brands do because they think it's strategic, but I don't think they have a responsibility to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I owe you nothing.
I think they should be allowed to do that. And I mean, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequences for speech, but in terms of responsibility, yeah, I question that. The responsibility of a corporation is to make money for its shareholders. That's their sole responsibility.
Are there any categories of product or service that are legal that you believe should not be allowed to advertise?
Nothing I can think of.
Yeah, unless you want to call like judges a service, because I don't really want judges advertising.
Kind of like in the States.
Yeah, kind of like in the States. Yeah, it would get odd here.
Do you want to expand on that?
Our system of like the judiciary in Canada is meant for judges to be appointed by political means and like not have politics of their own and not essentially be beholden to individuals in the community. And so they can remain completely neutral. I mean, there's multiple cases on that. One of the first cases you read in law school in constitutional law is about like whether justices who are over 75 are permitted to continue working because there's a cap on it in I forget which statute, but there's a cap on how like long a justice can work and if they're permitted to work afterwards and whether that influences their decisions. So you want judges to remain completely neutral. And I mean, if they're running for office and relying on campaign contributions, that's going to impair at least the appearance of neutrality, if not the actual impact of neutrality.
Although I'll disagree somewhat.
You should put the money into hiring the politician who's going to get to pick all the judges anyway. Like there's no way around it.
You kind of hit yourself on the head, Andrew. That is the flaw with our system.
There's always a flaw in the system.
Like, I think there are flaws with the U.S. system in the fact that, as Geoff said, like every couple of years you got to run again, and you got to keep the population happy. But our system now, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about this in recent years. Whichever party is currently in power chooses the judges. It's still, I think, fairly well known that if you've made the right contributions to the right parties and know the right people, that definitely gets you a leg up. So very real risk in politics playing a role here as well.
Let me go to the next question. Is targeted advertising beneficial because it improves relevance or harmful because it reinforces consumer bias and limits choices?
So I want to say yes to both. That's my challenge. I'm not sure I can pick one.
Are you both in the yes to both category?
Yeah, I think I might well be. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move to something I think a little bit more spicy. Okay, next one. It's okay to run Google ads on a competitor's name.
It's a great question. I'll say it does. It does seem wrong.
I don't see how it is. I mean, it's kind of greasy, but at the same time, it's we have
Okay, opposite sides.
Yeah,
hold on to your argument.
Sure.
Okay, so Stuart, you believe it's okay, no problem, and Geoff, you're taking the side that it is wrong and people shouldn't be allowed to do it.
There's nothing unethical or certainly nothing unlawful about it. I mean, the reality is if you're marketing, whether you choose to have your, target specific words like employment law, or whether you target a specific name of a firm, there's nothing wrong with that. The reality is people are searching for it. And if there's a way to use your advertising strategically so that your firm comes to the top and gets in front of people's eyes, then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, law firms particularly, we spend a lot of, and they teach you that from the outset of your careers. Your reputation is all you have as a lawyer to a large extent. And so if another firm can come along and throw a bunch of money at it to play with the SEOs and just tank your name by advertising for you, it's going to be a problem long term. And it's a problem without a solution ultimately, because I don't know how you would fix it.
Yeah, but isn't it just about providing the public with information? You know, if someone searches for a specific law firm name because they need, you know, and they know that that law firm provides employment law assistance, this way, instead of just seeing that law firm, they're going to see 3 or 4 or 5 other employment law firms. They'll know they have some options. They can do some research into each firm, and eventually they choose the best one for them, as opposed to just being stuck with one.
That's a fair point. I'm thinking of somebody running an ad for Rudner Law that targets our name, and then it just slanders us, and it's difficult to address, or defames us rather than slandering because it's in writing. Libels.
Yeah, so I think that would be taken to the next extreme. I think I was just talking about the situation where someone buys the ad. So if somebody searches for Rudner Law, then their firm is going to come up first, which is a pretty common tactic. And like I said, I think it's just, you're going to get masses of information when you do a search anyway. So this is just another form of that, but it makes sure that whatever firm is buying the ad gets their name at the top. So I don't know if there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, my position is what it is. Just I'm concerned about nefarious use of this more than anything else. To your point, Stuart, I'm sorry to jump to the side of the fence, but you want to advertise and let other people know that there are other law firms out there, and they not as good as us because the reviews aren't as good. That's great. Thanks a bunch. I appreciate that.
Lots of hopefully people will realize that.
Yes, that's the goal.
I guess where it would get really weird, and I don't know if this has ever been a thing, like instead of buying another employment law firm's name, what if we bought like Domino's Pizza? So people want a pepperoni pizza and they get stuck with employment lawyers.
We don't arrive as quick, unfortunately.
It just creates tax, like additional tax in the ecosystem where Google makes more money on everyone. At the end of the day, there is a fallback for you. It's to bid on your own name so that you're appearing at the top above the people bidding on your name. But the reason for that, like Google is disincentivized from doing anything about this problem.
That works for me.
Yeah, and I would lean in a little bit to what Geoff was saying, where most of the nefarious actions aren't done within the ad itself. It's over the phone or in areas that are harder to police. So there are a lot of instances of fraud occurring after the fact, where, like, I don't know, lead generation companies may pretend to be the firm in question and resell it to the firm itself or to competitors. So there's all sorts of stuff that happens where I don't think the act itself is the issue, but it's either trademark issues being done or libel or slander, either on the landing page or over the phone.
Well, Andrew, do you believe that conquesting ads should be totally fair game?
I think it should be up to each state bar to decide whether it's ethical or not.
Each state bar should decide whether or not it's... So you don't believe enforcement should live at the Google layer?
No, I believe it should be done. Well, the trademark should. Google should see trademark as being infringed and police right there, because there are a lot of ads where it's just straight up trademark infringement, and either lead generation or other firms are making money on other people's terms, which is illegal and should be enforced. But the other ones that are a little bit more subtle, I think that's going to fall on state bars.
Fair enough. Okay, let's keep on going. Firms differentiating by undercutting traditional fee structures is a good thing for clients in the industry.
From a law firm perspective, I think it's a terrible idea. It's just a race to the bottom, as you said. So from a public perspective, maybe there's some benefit, but not from a law firm perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree with that position. I think Stuart and I have had discussions on this previously.
Okay, fair enough. Piggybacking on that concept of good for society, good for the business, lawyer advertising is good for clients, the industry, and society as a whole. True or false?
I think it depends on the nature of the advertising and who's policing the advertising. And I think it goes back to the state, or in our circumstance, provincial bars, and what's permitted and what isn't. I'm thinking just from my personal experience, just having people come in who have seen ads for other law firms, and they have this preconceived notion in their head of what their entitlements are. And they start telling me, and I mean, obviously ChatGPT is rapidly eating this concept lunch, but they come in and they have preconceived notions as to what their entitlements are. And like, well, this other firm said I could get this. I'm like, you're telling me I can get this. Okay. that first I'll call the other firm, but second, since you're here, let me give you a realistic understanding. And it's hard to like take away those preconceived notions. But if it's just simply advertise and indicate that this is a service that's available to you, I think it benefits people, because people are getting, like, as an employment lawyer, people get jerked around at work, and they don't realize there's people out there whose job it is to help them.
Yeah, you took the thought way beyond where I was just going to stop at. True, it's a good thing, access to information, access to justice. But you're right. If it's depending on the content of the advertising, then it can be a negative.
What do you think the consequences should be for information that is incorrect online?
I think that the risk, and look, I mean, most lawyers are pretty smart and they know, how far they can push the boundaries. But I think the problem is that, kind of to Jeff's point, they put information out there that might mislead or oversimplify things. And we hear this all the time. We have lawyers advertise on the radio here, and in a 30-second commercial, when you're commenting on 3 different concepts, it's obviously going to be really high level and oversimplified. That's the problem, is, as Jeff said, then we get the call saying, well, I know I'm entitled to X, and we have to explain that the law is much more nuanced. So what should the consequences be? That's where I was struggling with an answer. I mean, I think, it's fascinating, because in Ontario, lawyers were not allowed to advertise until, 10, 15 years ago?
Something like that, yeah.
Trend, since I started practicing, it's not that long. So we have evolved substantially, but I'd like to see some limits on what people can say in terms of how they, I guess it's how they try to explain the law, and some more limits on not misleading people. Devil's in the details, obviously, but that's where I'd like to see some control.
Well, what do you think are some of the most misleading things currently happening?
I think it's just the bold statements that you have to make in that 30-second clip.
Yeah.
When you have lawyers, and we're sticking with the employment law context, and I'm not trying to pick on any of our colleagues, but if lawyers to say, if this happens, you're entitled to a substantial amount of money. If that were true, then we wouldn't need to spend hundreds of hours on some of these cases. There are nuances. So the problem is people just hear that 1 5-second clip and think they're entitled to a substantial amount of money. And sometimes they also do things they shouldn't. If the clip says, if this happens, you can do X and get money, people go out and do X. And they realize that in this context, they shouldn't have. So that's where I think we should have some more limits on what we can say in the advertisements.
I feel like the key word they're missing there is may. All of the ads will throw may in there, but you're not going to hear that as a client.
I mean, that's a great point too, because I think we're pretty good about doing that, and we would use the word may. Some of the advertisements will use a much more definitive will. But you're right, Andrew. Clients are going to hear the may as a will anyways.
Yeah.
May.
Is ChatGPT beneficial for the legal industry?
I think we might have some disagreement here.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to say my position, because I don't have to defend the other side. To a large
You could play 4D chess and take your opposite position right now.
Oh, Stuart's going to write me up after the firm, if that's the case.
Yeah, so I will have ChatGPT right up here. So I will say yes.
Okay, sure. So yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. I think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. ChatGPT makes my life easier. It's just so cool. I like when I get an email from a client and it's got a 97-page ChatGPT summary. It really helps things out.
I kind of want to make you guys do it now just for that. Why don't you guys take your natural side on this one? You don't have to take the opposite side.
I appreciate the accommodation.
You're welcome.
Jeff, you've already started. Do you want to continue on that path?
I'm trying to think of how somebody described one of Shakespeare's sonnets as like hot jam without like crust. Like that's what I feel like with ChatGPT. Like you're not getting the nuance and the context behind something. You're just getting a regurgitated answer that may or may not be accurate. It doesn't know the questions to ask, and it's again refer back to South Park. It's sycophantic, and it's going to make you feel like you're the smartest person on earth and validate you every single time you say anything. Like, oh, that's a great question. No, you absolutely should have taken your boss's parking spot. And when he tried to move you, removing the wheels from his car was a great idea. They did not have cause to terminate your employment in any way, shape, or form. You made the right choice that day, and you're making the right choice now.
Do you feel smarter? I feel smarter. She's making us smarter.
AI is incredible.
I mean, in that respect, I have concerns with it because, like, right now we have people who have gone to ChatGPT and provide me with a summary of their situation, but they're still meeting with me and they're still listening to me when I tell them, like, this is my opinion or this is the firm's opinion on this. I'm concerned that the next step beyond that is well, I don't need anybody because I've got ChatGPT and it tells me how smart I am. So I'm just going to go to court and they're going to bow down and be amazed at how great I am because of all my knowledge.
I don't need a lawyer.
Which I know some lawyers have already tried, and it has not panned out terribly well for said lawyers.
Yeah, no, I mean, kidding aside, like I agree with everything you're saying, Jeff. And I guess my response is more of a general, is AI good for the legal industry as opposed to ChatGPT? So like everything you're saying is right. And it's kind of scary because we see clients come in and they've already done their ChatGPT consultation and they already think they understand the law, but at least they are coming in. And then we're getting a chance to refine that and correct them. I think it provides some degree of access to justice. And I mean, I don't know what the latest stats are, but I've heard stats out of the States where something like 80% of the legal market is unserviced because people are just not going to lawyers. So those people, like, I'd love to find a way to get those people to get proper legal advice, but if they're not going to anyways, at least they're going to get some information. And I mean, like ChatGPT is like any other tool, you know, the better you are using it, the better the results you're going to get. And, you know, the garbage in, garbage out model still applies. So hopefully people are also learning how to use it properly. So ChatGPT is a start. And I think it's got some value, but like any other tool, it just depends how it's used. And Jeff has pointed out a lot of the dangers of how it can be misused.
I think you guys bring up like a really good point. I always bring this up in like our conversations with potential clients. There's this number that's thrown around as 1%. 1% of all searches today go through answer engines during the user lifecycle, whatever, the conversion lifecycle. But I think that number is grossly misrepresented for legal services and probably things like medical too, where the problem statements are fuzzy. Like the vast majority of searchers are looking for like a PlayStation 5. They're looking for something extremely clear, like what the scope of what they are searching for is, and the answer of what they want is also pretty clear. They want the cheapest one, they want the one most nearby, they want a used one, whatever it is. It's easy to refine from like the traditional search. For legal, where people are trying to suss out their own question as they are in context in a session, that's where answer engines really shine. So I'd be shocked if the number of people who use an answer engine on their way to finding a lawyer isn't closer to like 15-20%, if not higher. I think it's kind of like grossly overlooked when it comes to understanding the user journey and figuring out where to optimize in the path, because people just look at 1%. And that's kind of like what they pin to.
ChatGPT, dude.
That's interesting. I think it's also going to be an evolution. Like I said, I mean, ChatGPT is one tool, right? There are some AI tools specifically for legal, which I think are far more powerful and far more efficient for legal lawyers or clients to use. So there's some great tools out there, but even just ChatGPT, like I said, I think it gets some people access to information they would otherwise never have. And you know, and I've had those consultations where people come in with that 97-page output that Jeff mentioned, and it depends on the person, right? Some people will take that as the gospel, in which case there's just no point in them being there. But others will use that as a starting point, and then they will still listen to their lawyer and then make decisions accordingly. So I'm repeating myself, but it just depends how you use it.
Yeah. A lawyer answering a question, it depends, just totally a left field here.
Yeah,
I tell you.
I know. I can't believe you've said this.
I feel like you guys should have like a bell or something. So like when you've got lawyers on, when the first "it depends" comes up, you ring the bell.
I kind of want to do like a who's that guy who does all the auto tune? You know who I'm talking about? Like T-Pain. I kind of want to have a T-Pain style "it depends" that you can trigger. Andrew, you can have it on your soundboard. It depends. Sick, guys. Well, let's wrap up here. The last thing we always do, we give you guys a completely fake word. This word does not exist, and it's your job to define it.
Perfectly cromulent.
Okay, excellent. He gets it. The word is Andrew. I need you to do the word. I don't know how you want to pronounce that.
Gravlune.
Can we get a spelling on that?
Gravlune. Gravlune.
That's a tough one.
The degree to which the seriousness of your position depends on the state of the moon.
Pretty good. Can you use that in a sentence?
I found opposing counts as Gravlune changed due to the fact that there was a half moon in the sky. Or I could predict the degree of opposing counts as Gravlune given the state of the sky.
Yeah, very good.
So I will admit, I went to my ChatGPT while that was talking. And I think I may have misspelled it because I was typing quickly while Geoff was speaking, but the definition I got was a novelty toy or desk item, specifically a soft, usually balloon-like object with a thick gel or putty, and when you hold it, it stretches, squishes, and slowly deforms under its own weight.
Very precise.
Yeah. Just trying to get back to the whole point that ChatGPT has a real value in society.
Amazing. Let us know, where can listeners find you?
Yeah, the easiest way is rudnerlaw.ca because we are Canadian, or you can certainly find me on LinkedIn. And Geoff, you're pretty active on LinkedIn as well.
Yep. I had to change my profile picture. Still haven't got a good one yet.
That's today's episode of Devil's Advocate. Thanks for joining us, guys. See everyone on the next Devil's Advocate.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Devil's Advocate. Who do you think the winner was? Make sure to leave a comment to let us know. DM us for any ghoulish topics you think we should dare to debate. We'll catch you in the next one.